Karen, would you call the roll, please?
David Burris,
Here.
J.R. Huddleston,
Here.
Deborah Johnston,
Here.
Bill Lukens,
Here.
Larry Pratt,
Here.
Craig Romy,
Present.
Caitlin Turner,
Here.
Linda Varvel.
Here.
Would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Remember conflicts of interest, council. If you have anything that you're uncomfortable voting against, please let the council know. Need a motion to approve an amended agenda. Under personnel, item C, Christy Pierce. Her effective date is 9/23/21, not 10/1/21. We'll change personnel, Christy Pierce, effective date 10/1/21 to 9/23/21.
Make a motion to approve an amended agenda, the amended item being item C under personnel. Christy Pierce changing the effective date from 10/1/21 to 9/23/21.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Need a motion to approve an amended minutes from the September 20th council meeting. If you look at your minutes from the September 20th council meeting, first page, under communications from the public, second sentence from the bottom, it talks about Vineland fire. That should be Vineyard fire. And then under the joint public hearing, the first sentence, moved by Ritterbusch, seconded by Forboard, to convene jointly as a planning commission and city. That needs to be removed. Those motions were within their committee. They weren't part of the council. And then the last sentence in that same joint public hearing, moved by Wienius, seconded by Heidebrink of the Planning Commission to adjourn the joint meeting. That was for their meetings and not ours, so those two are removed from the minutes. Then if council has anything else you would like to change?
I'll make a motion to approve the amended minutes of the September 20th council meeting. The amendments being on the first page, changing Vineland fire to Vineyard fire. And on page 2, under joint public hearing, removing the first sentence, being moved by Ritterbusch, beginning with moved by Ritterbusch. And under that same joint public hearing section, remove the sentence beginning with moved by Winya.
I second the motion.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Need a motion to approve the bills in between.
I'll make a motion to approve the bills in between for the amount of $121,562.30.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. Motion to approve the current claims.
Got a question.
Can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the current claims for $130,222.53.
Second.
All right. Discussion.
Question, more so for information. Page 3, down on plumbing and heating AC service. What was that for? Which facility?
That's for the Mueller Center.
It is for Mueller Center? Okay, then, that's it on that one, I'm sorry.
All right.
Here it is over here. First page.
So is that on,
That is,
is that going to be on the credit cards, or is that still on
that's still current.
current claims? Okay, page 1.
Page 1, minor tools, it's just seemed odd. We have from Amazon a measuring cup and beaker, and then in the same thing, it's a shoulder bag and camera.
That's on,
What?
that's on
That's on the credit card
Wells Fargo
claims.
credit
Oh,
card.
that
Yeah.
is. I'm sorry, I'll catch that on the next go around.
So
All right.
that was for sewer?
We'll catch that when we get to the credit card claims,
Yeah,
Karen.
I was off on that one.
Oh, okay.
Any other questions on current claims? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. And a motion for the Wells Fargo credit cards.
Make a motion to approve Wells Fargo credit card claims for $7,591.54.
Second the motion.
Question, page 1. As stated before, measuring cup and beaker and a shoulder bag and camera. It just seemed like two odd things on the same. What was that for?
Well, this is for sewer, and I'm trying to recall the claim voucher, but it just is probably a special measuring cup for what they need to
Okay,
measure in the wastewater plant.
for testing there at wastewater.
And they have a new camera system, so they needed something to carry it in.
Thank you. That answers my questions. Just seemed like an odd purchase.
Oh,
Any other questions on current claims? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Takes us to communications from the public. Bill, are you here? Come on down. If you would state your name and address.
I'm Bill Ruggieri. I live on Bear Avenue on the river, 531 Bear Avenue.
Okay, I just need to give you a heads up. It's 7:10. We have a public hearing, so we'll need to have you pause at that point. And depending on how long that public hearing goes, we've got another one at 7:15. But we'll get you back up after we've gotten through the public hearings if you haven't had a chance to finish
Okay.
chatting with the council.
Okay, I'm Bill Ruggieri. I live on Bear Avenue on the river. There's a guy been building and maintaining a trail along the river below my house for a couple years. And his future plans are to put little signs down there explaining the flora and fauna, and larger signage on each trailhead inviting people to use the trail. I had a similar trail like that down my alley at one time, and it led to some problems. I had people in the daytime taking the trail into the VA, and you could either go up to the VA or you could follow the river down to the bridge by the Braun. And I had people hanging out there drinking beer in the daytime, and then at night I had people traveling to and from downtown. At one time there was a stolen car back there. There were stolen bicycles parked back there. One night I had a violent incident with an intruder in my house, cost me 2 chipped teeth and a broken nose, which my ex-wife said was an improvement. And I've lost my train of thought. eventually this trail was closed, so that's my security concern. My suggestion is if the trail could be put on the other side of the river with some security lights and a trash can, it would be greatly appreciated. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, council, if you have questions, I'd ask that you keep those until after the first public hearing if we have time between the two. So we're at 7:10. So just go ahead and take a seat, Bill, and if they have questions for you, you won't have to come back too far.
Thank you.
7:10 public hearing, a hearing to act on the transfer applications from Big Time Pizza, Inc. for a change of business location for the existing retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm wine, and the retail on-off sale wine and cider licenses to be used at 310 South Chicago Street. Is there anybody in the public that would like to speak to that issue? Do you have any comments you'd like to share with the council? Okay. Could I ask you to come up and repeat that in the microphone so that the folks that watch this council meeting online or after the fact will know why you're asking for it? And your name and address also, please.
Robert Davis. Right now, we're at 310 South Chicago Street. Big
Thank you.
Pizza. We've been in town for about five and a half years now. There was a lot of thing about road construction taking place this summer, and that was my concern. So we decided to move over to Stay USA and around in the back there. And we had a chance to put a veteran center in there at the same time, but things just didn't work out right now, so we moved back to the original location.
All right. Council, do you have any questions? All right. Anyone else from the public? All right. Thank you. Need a motion to approve, deny, or table?
I'd make the motion to approve the application for Big Time Pizza Incorporated for a change of business location for the existing retail on-off sale malt beverage and South Dakota farm and wine and retail on-off sale of wine and cider license to be used at 310 South Chicago Street.
Second.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations. Bill, you didn't have anything else you wanted to mention to the council?
Yeah, just one last statement. Just one last statement in conclusion is I would ask everybody in the audience that they would consider what they would feel like if someone was putting a trail 40 feet from their back door, which is the case that I am experiencing.
Council, do you have any questions for Bill?
Bill, how far is this from your property line?
The trail,
Yes.
about 40 feet. I haven't measured it.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
And originally, you put that, the foliage and the signs up there, so you're kind of creating a path to walk through there, is that correct?
No, sir, not me. It's another couple doing that.
What's going on is Rajni Lerman's got she sent us all the information, but she's presented the project at the Parks Department meeting about designating 2 signs per section of the Freedom Trail for ecological information to,
Yes.
enhance the trail. And she's is asking for a grant to create these informational signs, and she's got the river divided into like 8 sections, and there'd be 2 signs per section. And the section he's referring to is kind of like our undeveloped section from Coldbrook Avenue, right behind the Evans Plunge, around past the boiler plant for the VA, and under the bridge by the Braun, and it would come out at right about the waterfall. It would be that undeveloped. Uriah has created or designated it's right now it's kind of a deer trail, but you can walk back along that whole section. And there would only be 2 signs designated in that area at this point with her proposal.
All right, we're up against our 7:15 public hearing, so
Thanks, Bill.
hang out again, Bill.
I'm sorry, hang out.
Yeah, go ahead and hang out again, and if we have any more questions after our 7:15, we'll chat with you. All right, so we have a 7:15 public hearing for 2 temporary alcoholic beverage license applications from the Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce for the Chamber Mixer event to be held at the Mammoth Site, 1800 U.S. Highway 18 bypass, and the Chamber Christmas Soiree event event to be held at the Mueller Civic Center, 801 South 6th Street on December 16th, 2021. Anybody in the public that would like to speak to that? Council? All right, need a motion to approve, deny, or table?
Make a motion to approve 2 temporary alcoholic beverage license applications from the Hot Springs Chamber of Commerce for the Chamber Mixer event to be held at the Mammoth Site, 1800 U.S. Highway 18 bypass, and the Chamber Christmas Soiree event to be held at the Mueller Civic Center, 801 South 6th Street on 12/16/21.
Second.
Any more discussion?
Who's supplying alcohol for these?
Say that again?
Who is supplying the alcohol for these licenses?
I don't have that answer for you, Craig.
Shouldn't we know that before we vote on it?
I mean, on the application, the chamber signed both of them and Olivia signed them. So are they supplying for themselves was my assumption.
They don't now have alcohol license, so can we do that to people that don't carry an alcohol license?
What I see on the application, there's no provision for them to even list where they're purchasing, when they applied with the application, where they're purchasing their alcohol.
Nope.
So if we're going to add that, then we need to, at a future date, make sure that that's one of the line items, that we know when this comes to us, that's where it's at. But according to the ones I'm seeing, there's no provision on the application to ascertain where the alcohol is being purchased.
I make a motion, if I can, to table this until we know.
Whoever made the motion could amend it to table it, if they're so inclined.
There is no line on that.
I know we've had a bunch of these before, and that question's never been put to who's supplying the alcohol. But there's certainly plenty of time for them to table this and get the answer and get it back on the agenda.
Usually it's the person with the alcohol license applying to do it for the mixer, for the chamber. That's how I've
But
seen
they're
it
not
before.
doing that. But they're not doing that. in this.
That's what I'm saying. It's usually the people with the alcohol license.
License holder.
Yes.
Karen, who made the motion?
I did.
Would you consider
did.
amending your motion to
I
table?
do not.
Pardon?
He's
So we
not
have a
gonna
motion and a
amend.
second in front of us. Any other discussion?
I guess I've only gone to one of these events, and I don't know that I know the answer to this, but can the chamber just purchase from a retailer and provide it, but then they would have to be a seller?
They need to hold a license.
They can
This
hold
is a
license, yeah.
temporary license, that's what this is.
Yeah, but you still,
There's a line on the bottom of it, fee for temporary license, fee for non-license holder. You don't have to have a license to apply for this.
So you're saying anybody can do this? You and I could if we want to.
Supposedly, as far as I understand.
well,
Be some wild parties down there.
35.
Any other questions?
I have no other questions.
Karen, would you call the roll, please?
David Burris,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston,
Yes.
Deborah Johnston,
No.
Bill Lukens,
No?
Larry Pratt,
No.
Craig Romey,
No.
Caitlin Turner,
No.
Linda Varvel.
No.
The motion doesn't pass. Can I get another motion to table it?
Make a motion to table it until we know for sure who's going to have the license.
Second.
Discussion?
I think there's plenty of time before this that we can take the time to find out.
Any other comments? So the new motion,
I'm good.
the new motion in front of you is to
Mr.
table.
Mayor?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Mayor, this is for, correct me if I'm wrong, 2 events. I think the first event is actually on October 21st.
Yep, one's October 21st and the other one's December 16th.
Yeah, December 16th.
Our next council meeting's about the 18th, so it'd be before that.
Well, I'm trying to read 35-2-2.1, but it's not clear enough for me to glean any information on a temporary license. Sorry.
All right, so help me out. I'm not seeing the October, the first date in October. Is that what I'm understanding you to say for the Chamber of Commerce?
The second application?
Yeah, the second one, the chamber mixer, to greet new Fall River Health Service CEO.
Here.
I just didn't know the date of our next council meeting. I wanted to make sure that
Is 10/18 is our next council meeting.
The 18th.
that could be approved then.
And will it will have met all the requirements then, the notification? I mean, that's done enough time before the actual event?
I'd have to look at it. Couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
If 3 days' notice isn't enough, we can always call a special meeting to approve it.
All right, well, we're going to need to split our motions then. As it's stated in the public hearing, it only makes reference to the December 16th. So can I get a motion to approve the Chamber of Commerce temporary alcoholic beverage license application for October 21st, 2021?
Well, both of them don't have
It'd be the same.
someone with an alcohol license.
We'd just be doing the same thing all over again.
All right.
But looking on the application, it doesn't state anywhere on there where they have to be a license holder.
So what do we do, Garland?
Well, I don't know the answer off the top of my head as far as where the supplier has to be.
It doesn't ask for that. You want to take a look at it?
No, I've got it.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I don't know. Usually it's someone that already has a license, like, I don't know, typically these are for like temporary license to be held here at the Mueller Center. One that already, facility, or companies that already have a license is the one that's applying for it. So I don't know the answer without research. If you don't want to proceed, since you already got it voted no, my suggestion is to table it, let me research the matter, and then you have to have a special meeting if there's not enough time at the next council meeting. It's not enough notice time.
We do have an active motion on the floor.
And the motion on the floor right now is,
To table till we know who is the supplier.
I think we have a
Bob?
comment.
There's a comment.
So I've been to two different wine and wreaths fundraisers. One was down here, and I'm pretty certain that Mueller doesn't have a liquor license, but neither does Boys and Girls Club, but they still had that down here. And then the last one I went to was up at Red Rocks, and I'm pretty certain they have a beer and wine license, but I don't think that they supplied the alcohol then either. I think it was Boys and Girls Club.
Yeah.
Boys and Girls Club doesn't have a beer and wine license to my knowledge. It was just a temporary license.
and that's what I'm familiar with, is that I've never asked the question, nor do I recall the question ever being asked, who's serving the alcohol, to determine whether we should approve the temporary alcoholic beverage license or not.
Great.
But that's the motion in front of us. So. All right, so the motion in front of us is to table.
As it stands now, yes.
Yeah. All right, any more discussion? So the motion in front of us is to table the two temporary alcoholic beverage license applications from the Chamber of Commerce. All in favor?
Aye.
No.
Opposed?
That'd be me. No.
The motion passes. So we'll ask the question. And if we need to have a special meeting to get this taken care of before the October 21st date, then we'll do that. All right, back to you, Bill. Any more questions for Bill?
I don't have a question for Bill, but I used to own a home up there. And he's correct by saying there's a lot of traffic in there that's kind of iffy. I don't know if the one down on the river would be or not, but I know they had meth house up there they had to tear down, and there's some shady places back there. I mean, there's not a lot of people back there, so it's kind of spooky. I agree with Bill. I don't know why they couldn't put on the other side of the river temporary just to go around his place or something. It shouldn't be that hard. They're making trails and putting rocks across so nobody gets in the marsh and everything, so that's just my opinion.
I think the other side of the river is more marshy and less conducive to a trail.
I don't know, the VA water system comes gushing out of the hill right there by his house.
Right.
That's a lot of water.
I got the chance to go over to his house and take a look at what he's talking about, and did they fix that gate? Have you got an opportunity to see that gate was fixed?
Yes, sir, it was fixed.
Okay.
Thank
Right. And yeah, you're right. There's a couple of houses over there. It's obvious that there's a lot of trail going through there. Where he lives at is a pretty isolated area back in that part of it back there. If they could put it across to where he's talking about, I think that would be a better ideal than being just right abutted up to his property. That's just my opinion.
Bill, have you talked to them at all about the trail? I mean, as far as making it a kind of a detour per se?
Yeah, I met with Rajni and we, discussed my concerns and her plans, and we agreed to disagree. So here I am.
Okay.
I guess my big question for the council would be, and the city would be, if an interpretive trail goes down there and somebody gets hurt on it, who's legally liable? Are they legally liable? Is the city liable? Is the Army Corps of Engineers liable? I mean, let's just be realistic about this.
Or is Bill liable, means his property is right there?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Or I'm asking, are you liable, being that's so close to your property?
Oh, no, I wouldn't think so.
No, it's going to go right by his property on the none.
Yeah, but if they're having an issue there.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I see what you're saying, yeah.
I don't think he's having any issue from people on the trail at this point. It's been people up above. The trail is way down. It drops down quite a steep precipice from your property down into the riverbed. And I think your problem has been with people up on Bear Avenue and those streets back in there that hasn't been from the river.
Well, it kind of is. It kind of is, because at one point where they're talking about a flat area back there that has a little waterfall, you can see where trail comes up and it comes around next to his property. And it's obvious that people have been walking around on his property and toward going into the back of the Mueller, the VA over there also. So I think it is a problem for him.
I've had stuff stolen out of my carport. The flat spot right up above the waterfall is right next to, half of my property is half of the waterfall, basically. Actually, it's a little further down, but the stream itself, that portion of it is platted as Beaver Avenue. It's a 30-foot strip that runs down where the waterfall is. And there's a small creek that flows down there most of the time. And I have problems with people hanging out there. I found people crashed in sleeping bags back there, and what their mission is, I can only guess.
I think this is more of a police issue rather than, it's not even a designated trail at this point. It's just a deer trail essentially, and it's public land.
It was a deer trail. Now it's a weed whacked, shoveled, rock moved, a wheelbarrow type operation.
Right.
Uriah has been working on that property
Yeah,
back
I
there.
realize that.
Yeah.
But it's not a sanctioned trail, but, it's...
Well, my question still stands. If anybody gets hurt, who's going to be liable?
Well, it's not a city-owned, city-worked-up trail. It's nothing that the city is actually doing.
So does the
we
Corps of
wouldn't be any
Engineers
more responsible. Craig would be, because he lives close proximity to the property, or you, it wouldn't be anybody's.
So does the Corps of Engineer know about this? It's their property, isn't it? And I don't think a homeowner in Hot Springs should have to fear for his life because things has happened to him, and he's just asking one thing to have happen, and people just ignore it. I don't think it'd be that hard to move, 30 feet across the river and go on that side?
Wouldn't be that hard at all to do.
Bill, when you and I chatted, I had asked if you would be willing to approach Parks and Recreation with this conversation. Are you still agreeable to that?
Oh, yes, I'm on the agenda for Wednesday.
Yep. And they meet on Wednesday. So I don't know that there's enough information available for council to make a decision. It's not on the agenda for them tonight anyway. So if we could continue this conversation in Public Works, and at that time, Rajni will have an opportunity to be there also to answer any questions for the committee.
She's going to be out of town this week. She's
they meet next week.
at the Uranium in Pier.
Oh, yeah, they're meeting on Wednesday. All right, we'll go ahead and attend, and we'll kick some things around and see where we can go with this. The city is aware that that trail is being developed. It is a nice walking trail. It's a beautiful trail. It is in the floodplain, which the city is responsible for.
Yes.
Do we know who might be scratching here? So we need to make sure that we're doing the right thing. So if you'd attend Parks, then we'll continue the conversation there.
If I could add to that, Mr. Mayor. Bill, if you would you take some pictures and stuff like that, if at all possible? Take pictures.
Oh, yes.
To show where the trails are going around your home and so on and so forth. That way, as we're there, we're all looking at the same thing and not trying to guess or imagine.
Okay, I'll do the best
if you could. And Public Works be coming up. So Tuesday, I don't know what the...
I'm sorry, Tuesday?
Well, he's going to come to Parks and Rec.
No, I'd like to keep this at Parks and Recreation at this point.
Okay, because you said Public Works.
I did?
Yes.
All right. No, Parks.
Okay. Still the same. Take the pictures, prove your point.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you, sir.
Therese, you've been patient.
Hi, I'm Therese DeBoer, P.O. Box 944, Hot Springs. And before I start on my topic, I did want to say that Rajni has come to our organization and talked about the trail before too, and the interpretive signs that they were going to put up, and it sounded like a wonderful idea. So I'm sad to hear that that's happening to him, but hopefully something can be worked out. Okay, so I'm with the Southern Hills Community Recreation Initiative, and otherwise we call ourselves SHREC to make it a little bit easier. I sent you all a letter via email. Hopefully you read it. Okay, so that gave most of my details on what we're asking. We have a youth gymnastics program for ages, well, this year we're even going down to 2s. We've got a Mommy and Me program that we're adding. We've been going for about 4 years. Last year we had to skip because of the COVID, but we're going to work on going again this year. The first year we started out small, and it's growing and growing, and we have lots of community support. It's a good activity for the children. It promotes physical, mental, and all kinds of well-being stuff, balance and strength, conditioning for kids. Plus it gets them out of the house, and then they're not sitting on their video games or TVs. They're actually able to exercise and interact with others. So we're very proud of our program. It's been successful, and we have some wonderful volunteers. And because I sent you that letter, I thought I wouldn't go over all of those details again. But if it's okay, I have people that would like to speak on behalf of our program. So I'm going to start with Elsa, if that's okay, and then I'll have one of our volunteers talk. Hello, I'm Elsa Meyer. Do you want me to give my address? No, 102 South Connor, Ward 2, here in Hot Springs. So when Shrek started about 11 years ago, there was a group of people that came together and we had a vision, and I was part of that inception in the beginning when we created our nonprofit, because now my kids are grown. They're now about to be 22 and 20, and I still have a 10-year-old who's here in the audience. But we were trying to establish, because in our community, we have found that outside of the summer rec, which is an amazing program that the city does offer, there's not a lot of extra activities that the kids can get involved in, that we can keep them out to keep a sense of community for the children together, so they're not just wandering about, that they have purpose and it's focused and it's instructed, instead of people always having to drive to Rapid City for events. And as parents, I know I would drive to Rapid City twice a week for different things, at the time, going to ballet or going, to gymnastics and back and forth. And it's a trek during the winter time. And the vision of Shrek in the beginning, and it still is to be able to house and have a roof and at one place, right? So we can have everything together to create something for the kids in the community, for new kids in the community, for kids growing up in the community, that was a safe place for them to be. And it still is the initiative. And the goal is, while we do these programs, the money that's earned for these programs are really going to the greater vision of developing a recreation center for our community as we grow and build. And we want, younger families to come that have younger children so they can grow up in this beautiful area. Hot Springs is amazing, and it's an amazing place to raise children. And so I'm here. I know that we're discussing the fees of the Mueller Center, and they had some fees that were set, and now that they were over, it's gone double the price. And this really cuts into the funding, but there's a lot of organizations that are in our community that have, get their spaces for free, or they, can use soccer fields or use what we do have as a city that is available to them right now. And I don't believe that they're asking, for a full, we don't pay anything. But if we have that balance, I think for, the Mueller Center and at a reasonable rate, then the money in that pool, what they're building, what they've been trying to strive for 11 years, continues to get built on, so they can create, something. It's not like it's making money, it's a nonprofit, and the money is going for a higher vision. So, thank you. Do you have any questions for me? I'm good. Good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Juliana Brown. I live on 925 3rd Street. I'm a volunteer for the youth gymnastics program. I volunteered there for quite a while. I was also part of the high school gymnastics team. Gymnastics, I believe, is a really great area for community building and friendship building. I personally have a lot of friends on my gymnastics team, and this youth program has led to a lot of friendships between these young children as well, which I believe is really important, especially growing up. When you grow up in a small town, sometimes it can be intimidating to make friends, and this is a really great social event that's structured in such a way that they can learn and grow as people. And in volunteering for this, I have grown a lot as a person. I have learned a lot from these little kids, and I feel as though I'm helping them in a way too. I just really want to see this program continue to grow as much as it has been, and I really enjoy volunteering with it. I also believe it helps us as a community as a whole, because these little people are our future, and I believe it's important. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy said she sent you an email with a statement.
Hello, I'm Christy Richardson. I live at 2515 Wilson Avenue. About 2 years here in Hot Springs. Prior to that, I lived in Illinois and Iowa, and I've coached gymnastics since I was 14 years old. I'm one of the coaches for Shrek. And I've just made a lifetime out of giving my time to the sport because obviously everyone here believes in it, and we know that there are numerous amounts of benefits to having a gymnastics program, and I really feel like Hot Springs is very fortunate to have the people that are working with the program, the coaches, the 40, I don't know how many years we have together, myself, Denise, Hayden, the other coaches, probably 60 plus years experience. I used to own my own gymnastics program in Iowa, and I was a gymnastics judge as well. So I feel like we're really fortunate to have the people that we have here in this community, but I would like to ask you a few questions so that when you're thinking about what you need to do or whether you're going to pass or deny the rate increase, I have a few questions for you to think about. I was looking at the population growth of Hot Springs, and it's at a decline. Do you know what that decline is since 2010?
It's about 300 people.
According to what I see, it's a negative 6%. So you guys are declining. I believe that's correct. Let me just check. Negative 6.06% is what I see on Google. I'm sure that's something that you guys are keeping track of to see what your population growth is in the city. And I feel like that's a pretty big concern. If you're having a decline in population, it's because you're not offering enough to people to keep them here, whether it's work or events or extracurricular activities. So I would really consider that in your thought process. If you make this unaffordable, no one will be able to do it. And I really feel like the cost is pretty high for the median income here. The median income is $23,000 per single household and $52,000 per combined household. And that doesn't leave a lot of money for people to be able to enjoy curricular activities that cost. And I'm not sure if Therese told you what the cost is, but if we have to increase those costs because you increase our cost to use this building, a lot of parents aren't going to be able to do it. They're not going to be able to afford it. We have multiple children that have multiple families that have multiple children in the program, and if they're paying $200 or $300 for each child, that's cost prohibitive. So I'd really like you to consider those things when you're thinking about whether you pass or decline because, excuse me, I think that from what I'm understanding, no one can use the gym during that time anyhow because the spring floor is set up for the high school gymnastics program and the bars and the balance beam and all that stuff is set up and it's really difficult to tear it down. So if we are not using it, it's not going to be used anyhow, is what I'm understanding. And also from the last 2 years that I've coached with Shrek, we've only been able to be there from 8 in the morning till noon. And we have more kids that we've had to turn away because we're governed by how many kids we can have per class. By safety standards, we can only have so many per instructor. And we really could have 2 or 3 more classes added at least 2 years ago. We didn't have it last year because of COVID. But 2 years ago, we could have had more students and we had to close the doors and not let any more in because we had to be out by noon. So that's another thing that needs to be considered as well. If you're going to raise our rates, then we should have more time given to us so that we can have more students and not have to pass that cost on to our students and our families. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mike Summer, 1736 Minnetonka Avenue. I guess I've been on the board of Shrek for, it'll be a year in December. And I came on as their secretary and have been trying to wrap my head around the 2 proposals that have been worked up to have a facility. And one is a standalone, the other one is an addition that was looked at for the plunge and for here, the Mueller Center. And as a group, we are trying to decide which direction to pursue at this time. And we're literally at a fork in the road. So while raising funds continues, we will be seeking this winter to examine both of those options and to see if it's something that is viable to add, not only for gymnastics, but for multi-generations, where there could be indoor walking, gymnastics, swimming, an Olympic-sized pool, and things like that. So I know it's been in the works for a long time, and I think it's viable, not just for Hot Springs, but for the county. So as we move forward, we will have questions, and we would certainly like to establish some dialogue with the city to see if there is a public-private partnership that is indeed feasible. And if that is not the case, then we have our direction, and that is to go on our own and start from scratch with a piece of land. So I encourage each of you to take a look at the rates, because it'll go from $50 a half a day to $125. And like Christy mentioned, that could affect several families if they have 2 or 3 children involved. So we'll be talking. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Lisa Cruz. I live at 12908 Argyle Road, Hot Springs. My daughter participated in the gymnastics program when we were fairly new to town, and I think it was a great asset for just myself and my husband to be able to be with other members of the community, and for my daughter to learn the gymnastics, which she really enjoyed, and a social time for her as well. And I guess I would just, I'm having a hard time wrapping myself around the fact that the facility is not being able to be used in any other manner during the time period that the Shrek is using it for their gymnastics program. So I'm just having a really hard time trying to see how the city is justifying the fee increase, and even a fee at all. I mean, if the facility cannot be used in any other manner, and I could be mistaken, but I think that they have an arrangement with the school to use that gymnastics equipment. So I guess I would just ask the city to foster this program and work with the Shrek program and encourage them and lift them up and work together and unite for the betterment of our youth, so that these programs are available and affordable for the community. Thank you.
Lisa, what was your last name again?
Cruz, K-R-U-S-E.
Thank you.
One more.
Hey, everyone. Marty Meyer, 102 South Connor Street in Hot Springs, Ward 2. Thanks for your patience. This is turning into a long meeting. I used to sit up there, so I know what that's like. Just a few things I just quickly add that everybody's already said. It's like my wife said, we were involved with Shrek in the beginning because we had young kids at the time. So a lot of the stuff that I've always tried to support in the community has to do with the future of Hot Springs, and our kids are the future of Hot Springs. From the very beginning, Shrek has always tried to get the city to embrace the vision of having a rec center as well. And I think what it boils down to is whether or not you support that idea, that vision for the future of Hot Springs. And I know at the time there was a lot of discussion that maybe there was competition with Evans Plunge or something like that. I don't think that should even be considered, because the Evans Plunge is a separate entity. This is something that can support youth, it can support, we can actually have swim meets here in Hot Springs, Newcastle, Belle Fourche, all these surrounding communities have a pool where you can have swim meets. It can support senior programs, it can support summer rec programs. So having something like this in our community is going to help attract, and we get a lot of, we just had new neighbors moved in across the street with kids. So we're getting, Hot Springs demographically is kind of like a retirement community. But at some point in time, I believe people are discovering that Hot Springs is also for families. But if we want it to be for families, I would really like to think that we could support something like a vision of a rec center. They're not making money off of this. They're putting it into their funds to get matching grants to help achieve something for Hot Springs in the future. And we support the swim team by letting them use Evans Plunge. I know Bob and I at the time were the only two on council who actually supported, at that time, letting Shrek use the Mueller Center. And I remember various details came into play, and of course that got voted down. But they started out with what I thought was a fair price. And yes, they can rent it out. They have rented it while Shrek's using it. They have to move out and they can't use it on that day. So if they're going to pay a fee, I don't know if that's still a consideration that they actually have to be moved out. If it's a reasonable fee where they can make some money as a nonprofit to support this vision, then I'm sure they would probably still accommodate moving out if it can be rented. I'm surprised the school is not here supporting this as well, because these are future athletes, just like a swim team. These are people that are going to be on the high school gymnastics team at some point. So this is about community. It's about supporting community and vision for our community. Whether or not you believe the rec center is ever going to happen, they've been doing it for 11 years, and they're still here. And it's a lot of work to put this on, and they have to pay instructors. So I would just love to see the city support that and support them, and think about whose bottom line it's going to affect more. Raising their rate so they're not making as much money anymore, or at the end of the year, the city, do you think it's going to really affect the city that much by donating half of that fee or whatever? I don't think that will cause the city to be in the red. I think the city will look better for it, they'll shine, and people will realize that as well. So, thanks.
Does anybody have any questions for us?
Can we get some history about why this happened? Why did the rates go up all of a sudden? Is there a reason for it? Because, I mean, we've been supporting you this long at a lower rate, so what happened? Do we know?
I can answer that at the appropriate time.
Okay.
I have one question. What percentage of your gymnasts are Hot Springs residents versus county residents?
Hot Springs versus town?
Versus county.
Oh, county. Oh, gosh, I guess I don't know. I would say 90% probably have a Hot Springs address, but we also have some Ulrichs people coming. Some, I should say Oral and Ulrichs. And then we have some Custer people coming. I think we had about 5 Custer families. Looking for Christy, she would know. Yeah. 5 Custer families that came, otherwise Ulrichs, Oral, and mostly Hot Springs County. I mean Hot Springs City. Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And how many do you have?
We had 67, almost 70 students last 2 years ago when we had our courses, our classes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we did grow quite a bit. You know, the first year we started with 27. The second year we jumped into the 30s. You know, third year into the 40s, and then 70 for that 4th year. So that was a significant increase, and the word was getting out. Mm-hmm. It's a good. I was one of those gymnastics moms who took her kids to Rapid, and when I go to Rapid, then I end up buying groceries, and it costs me several $100s, you know, in gas and groceries and other shopping. So my thought was, why don't we keep this local and have then all, you know, people spending their money here rather than going to Rapid. Our classes are still less expensive than the ones in Rapid, and so we would like to keep it that way, and we'd like to keep people here spending their money on the gas and groceries in town rather than in Rapid. And the school has been super gracious in letting us use their equipment. We haven't had any problems. They're really wonderful partnership there. So they're supportive in every way.
How many days a year did you use the center?
We've, on average, the last couple of years, we've only had 11 half days that we got to use it. 11 half days. Our insurance alone is $1,200, for 11 days. This year, we're hoping to have 13 days because the school is considering to have the middle school gymnastics program. It used to go into March, 2 weeks into March, and they're considering doing that again. So if that's the case, then we'll maybe have, anywhere from 11 to 13 days.
Thank you.
But that's half days too, yeah. So it's a very short time. It's a 4-month period, but we only use it Friday mornings. And we can, this year, Christmas and New Year's both fall on a Friday. So that's why we're trying to adjust the schedule.
I have a question for the mayor.
Sure.
The swim team gets to use the plunge free, don't they? Is that because they're school?
Council approved the agreement with the swim team to allow it to be used at no charge, yes.
I know that. So I was just curious, is it because they're school kids or are they all school kids? I was just curious. Do you know?
I don't know the specifics of it. My understanding has been that that's the way that it was always done. It's also my understanding that that came about because when the plunge was privately owned, those folks allowed the swim team to use it, and when the city took over ownership of it, the use of the plunge was grandfathered to those kids.
Okay.
Thank you for your time.
Any other questions for Therese? So I have some comments, and we'll answer Deborah's why the rate increase. In your letter to the council, I just want to make sure we're clear on a couple things. You say that the school contracts with the city for the use of the Mueller Center. What do you mean when you say that? Are you talking about funds?
I'm talking about the trade agreement.
Okay, so you're not talking about funds being exchanged or anything?
Well, in the past, funds were exchanged, or what the Mr. Kaki had explained.
Okay, so we'll talk about that also. So the school does not contract with the city for the use of the Mueller Center. We have a use agreement. They can use any facilities the city has if it's not already scheduled, and we don't charge them for that. And likewise, if we need to use some of their facilities that they don't have scheduled, we can use those at no charge. So you also state the school has a trade agreement and pays for the space already. We had a conversation that you had talked with Chris a while back, and Chris had indicated there was about $1,500 that the school paid for the use of the facility. It wasn't for renting the space or having the equipment here. In the use agreement, it talks about the fact that under fees and charges, the city may charge rental fees to the district if district use of city facilities requires additional staffing to accommodate an event or events. So, in talking with Chris, that's what had happened, and it wasn't related to Shrek. It was related to other activities that the school had at the Mueller Center. So, yes, the city did charge them, but they didn't charge them for use of the having the equipment here. So, just want to
clarify.
Yep, want to get that out there. Okay, so why the rate increase? The other conversation that I had with Chris is that when Shrek first formed and wanted to get off the ground, he had made the decision to recommend or to advise council to go ahead and allow a reduced use rate for the Miller Center. So that went on for a couple years, and then this year, Chris had adhered to the Resolution 2020-31 citywide fee resolution setting fees and charges for services provided by the City of Hot Springs. And a half-day use of the auditorium is $125. So that's why he presented that to you. Chris at the Miller Center, Chris at Evans Plunge, they don't have the authority to negotiate prices. These are the prices that council has established for fees that the city will charge for use of our professional services or the Miller Center. So he can't make those decisions. It has to come in front of council. That's why we're having this discussion. And what I told Chris was that I need to remove the responsibility from him for making from moving away from the rates for a different rate than what is established by council. Only council has the authority to do that. Chris as the Mueller Center director and Chris as Evans Plunge director don't have the authority to do that. So it's simply following policy, following what the council has instructed that they want to happen with all the city services. So that's why it went from $50 up to $120. And then council will have to decide whether that's appropriate to change that amount or not. The devil in the details in all of this is you folks have certainly made a passionate case of why you feel you need the exemption. When we start down that road, there's going to be another group that's going to say, well, this group got the exemption. We want an exemption. Another group's going to say, we want an exemption. And you get to a point where we're trying to figure out how we pay for services. I agree with Marty. Will it significantly impact the city's budget? Probably not. In this one particular case, but when we start down that road, we can see that there are going to be reduced revenues for the expenses that we currently have.
Okay, so just as being devil's advocate, so the soccer field is mowed by the city and owned by the city, but I don't believe the soccer association pays for the use of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, where's the...
They're also not in a building that needs a heating system, an air conditioning system, and maintenance and a new roof. The older this building gets, the more costly it becomes in maintenance. And whether or not anybody else looks at it, the city council has to. It comes down to reality. The older the building gets, the more we have to put into it. And it costs the city more. And that's just life. We have to take a stance of what things are going to cost. And we know no entity in town is going to be able to pay for itself, especially when it comes to the parks, the Mueller Center, the trails. The city maintains all that. And over time, it just becomes a cost prohibitive to let things go as cheap as everybody would like. If there was any way, I don't think anybody on the council would argue the fact that we would love to have a lot more programs than we have as of right now. We just can't afford them. And I don't know if anybody really out there or anybody's researched, but the maintenance cost for this building has gone up quite a bit in the last 5 years. And we are under stress to get a new roof on there. We just got the skylight replaced. All these things are a cost. And I give kudos to Chris. I was giving you a moment to write. But I give kudos to Chris here at the Mueller Center. He tries to cut costs and watches, and he even takes on more than he probably should in order to keep the costs down. But not one person can stop that. It is a sad reality, but it is a reality. It is something that we are having trouble with. That's it, Mayor.
The cost to the city for 2023, 2021, the Mueller Center budget was $170,000. The council made some significant changes for 2022, and the projected budget for 2022 is $157,000. You can take what you want from the numbers. I would caution you, and I did in our conversation, Therese, that when we start comparing one program to another, you had said being the devil's advocate, then you can begin making the case, well, should we be charging for the other services that we currently aren't charging for?
Right, or I mean, we could come to or put in for the budget and get money like the senior center and the Boys and Girls Club and things of that sort. I mean,
yes.
I see this as a very minimal request compared to coming to the budget hearing and asking for thousands of dollars. I'm sorry, Jules had something else to say.
So I understand where you're coming from with the exemptions and that being a very slippery slope, but it's more as a continuation of an agreement that was made in the past. Also, I would hate to see this program be moved away from this facility due to that reasoning, due to being unable to pay for it, just because this facility does so much for our community, and it's kind of like a home. I personally also participate in theater, so I've made memories on this stage as well. So with that, the Mueller Center is kind of like a safe place of sorts, and this rate increase, although seems logical in some senses, is again not really an exemption, rather than a continuation of what's occurred in the past. Thank you.
Okay, this may not be received well. Go ahead and share your comments, but we need to get on with the regular meeting. We certainly have a sense of where you folks are coming from, and the council can't make a decision tonight anyway. It's not on the agenda to do that. I would like to do the same thing we did with Bill's request. This needs to be handed off to Parks to have a bigger conversation with it. Parks and Recreation is where we talk about the Mueller Center and other situations also. So.
Sure. Elsa Meyer. I don't have to state my address again. I've never done this, so this is new for me here. I'm a businesswoman. I own a couple of companies, and our company, our motto is people over profit, right? We start with the people, and other things come, and other things follow. And I don't think that they're asking, let's not pay anything. I think it's about finding a solution, and a solution that will work with both parties, right? A solution that will work with the community and for children, and not to have those increases, because there's a lot of families that cannot afford this gymnastics program, and there are already scholarships that are given so people can pay partial tuition for this organization. And it is, like my husband said, Marty, it's about the growth and having a bigger vision of what's out there, not just in this moment. Yes, I understand everything needs maintenance, and we have to repair roofs and do other things. And yes, if we can contribute away, it's an exchange, I think, of energy, but I'm asking the council to come to a solution, right? Maybe it's not the $50, and maybe it's not the $125, but maybe it's $75, something that will help, that can keep this program going, that can work for families in the community, for children in this community, and for their parents. And also to paint a grander picture of what this is really about, of creating something and having it be about the people of the community. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Ma'am, I'm on the Parks and Rec Committee, and I do encourage you to come down Wednesday at 1 o'clock here at the Mueller Center, okay? And come talk to us, and then
that would be great.
We'll go from there and see what we can do. Thank you.
Yeah, and Misty did say that she would put me on for the next council meeting to have a vote. This was what her recommendation was tonight. That's why we're not on to vote tonight. And then we start November 5th. Please. Thank you.
All right.
Very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Is that Parks and Rec at 1 o'clock or 3 o'clock?
1
1 o'clock, okay.
And as a matter of fact, I want to say this publicly, the last meeting that we had at Parks and Rec, the committee, we all voted on from 3 o'clock to 1 o'clock. I understand that somebody had said that it was never changed, and somebody said it was at 12 o'clock, but I want to say it so that the cameras can hear this. And it was also said at the last council meeting, too, it is at 1 o'clock on the first Wednesday of every month.
All right, let's move on to personnel. Can I get a motion to approve personnel actions A through F?
Make a motion to approve personnel actions A through F.
Second.
Discussion? If you remember, Christy Pierce's effective date was changed.
9/23/21.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Takes us to ordinances. Ordinance item A is second reading of ordinance 1235.
Make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 1235, an ordinance amending Title 15 land usage, Chapter 155 zoning code, adding 155.006 prohibited uses and supplementary regulations, 155.057 cannabis dispensaries, and amending 155.002 definitions, 155.023 commercial district -GC B uses permitted, and 155.025 Highway Services District -HSB uses permitted. Note, the content involves local regulations of medical marijuana-related facilities.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
No.
Aye. Oh,
roll call.
Roll call. Thank you.
Roll call. Great.
Would you call the
David
roll, please, Karen?
Burris,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston,
Yes.
Deborah Johnston,
Yes.
Bill Lukens,
Yes.
Larry Pratt,
Yes.
Craig Romy,
Yes.
Caitlin Turner,
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
The motion passes. Ordinance item B, second reading of ordinance 1236.
Make a motion to approve second reading of ordinance 1236, an ordinance adding chapter 116 cannabis establishments to the revised ordinance of the city of Hot Springs, creating licensing provisions for cannabis establishments.
Second.
Discussion? Karen, would you call the roll, please?
David Burris,
Yes.
J.R. Huddleston,
Yes.
Deborah Johnston,
Yes.
Bill Lukens,
Yes.
Larry Pratt,
Yes.
Craig Romy,
Yes.
Caitlin Turner,
Yes.
Linda Varvel.
Yes.
The motion passes. Takes us to resolutions. Resolution item A, resolution 2021-21.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2021-21, a resolution establishing the City of Hot Springs Youth Council.
Second.
Discussion? So I had talked with you about the Youth Council a couple of weeks ago and getting this off the ground. This establishes the resolution to form the Youth Council, and in your info set of the packets, I included some bylaws that we've been looking at for the council. Troy, were you able to join us? All right. Troy, the high school superintendent, is very enthusiastic about this. I've sent the bylaws to him also for his review. And when we get those approved, the idea behind the bylaws is to get the children, the high school kids students, to actually fill out an application to be on the youth council, explaining what they'll bring to the council. It commits them to attending at least 75% of the council meetings. So as I'd said to you at the last meeting, I'm particularly excited about this one. It was good to see all the kids here, and as a community, we need to get more youth involved in what happens. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item A, a possible motion discussion to approve and authorize the mayor to sign the State of South Dakota Joint Powers Maintenance and Encroachment Agreement.
Make the motion to approve the authorize the mayor to sign State of South Dakota Joint Powers Maintenance Enforcement Agreement related to the following state and city projects: NH 0018-18439 PCN 03TH, NH 0018B 0240 PCN 06DE, NH 0385 4835 PCN 028Z, NH 0385 6035 PCN 07V4, HS 2020-100 PCN X05J, HS 2020-001 PCN X05P, and H03850035 PCN 07W3.
Second.
Phew.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you. Discussion? So this is one of the last documents that the city has to agree to for our upcoming road reconstruction. All of those long words that or numbers that Dave read off are in your packet under the state projects and the city projects, describing in language that is easier to understand which particular project covers what part of the city. It talks about the city's responsibilities, the actual letting of the contract, the fact that the state is combining all of these individual contracts into one bid for contractors. And that's what this document is about, entering into agreement with the state to get our project out for bid so we can get a new highway constructed through town. Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item B, a possible motion discussion to accept the 2021 ARPA grant.
I make a motion to accept the 2021 ARPA grant from the State of South Dakota Department of Education Division of Library Services and approve subrecipient agreement #2021G884 between the Hot Springs Public Library and the State of South Dakota Department of Education Division of Library Services. The $15,000 reimbursable grant will be used to replace and improve servers, hard drives, and software programs.
Second.
Discussion. In your packets, towards the end of this particular one, they actually identify the equipment that the library is looking to purchase. And this is federal money that's been made available from the 2021 ARPA Act. Are there any questions? This it's a reimbursable grant, so we will have to spend the money and then submit the cost to the state to be reimbursed for those purchases. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item C, a possible motion to discussion to publish advertisement of highway bid letting on project 02-1-001.
I'll make a motion to publish an advertisement of highway bid letting on project 021-001, HS 2020-100, PCN X05P, X05J, prepared and provided by the South Dakota Department of Transportation and required for CDBG funding requirements.
Second.
Discussion. So when you look at the information that's in your packet, there's a lot of those, well, all those same numbers that Dave read off on new business item A are included in here. This one is a little different, and because our water and utilities are getting community development block grant money from the state to help us put those utilities in, we're also required on their behalf to make the announcement of this bid letting. So this is a formality. Yes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item D, a possible motion discussion to request proposals for the city residential and municipal solid waste hauling, disposal, and recycling services.
I'll make a motion to request proposals for the city residential and municipal solid waste hauling and disposal and recycling services. A notice to bidders will be published 2 times on October 21st and October 28th, and sealed bids will be received until 12 p.m. Tuesday, November 9th, 2021. Bids will be opened and publicly read aloud at the Public Works Committee meeting on November 9th at 1:15 p.m. at the Mueller Civic Center, 801 South 6th Street.
Second.
Discussion? So this is announcing a request for proposal for garbage services. We're in a 1-year emergency agreement with Sanders Sanitation. This is going out for a new request for proposal for, I believe it's a 3-year contract that we're looking to enter into.
I believe so, yes.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item E, a possible motion to discussion to approve and authorize the finance officer to sign the Minnesota Department of Administration procurement.
I'll make a motion to approve and authorize the finance officer to sign the Minnesota Department of Administration State Procurement Cooperative Purchasing Agreement required to obtain special pricing available on lease purchase of backhoe and loader.
Read the note.
Note, there is no cost to participate, and discounts are 43.5% and 41.4% respectively.
Second.
Discussion. So, council, you approved in the 2022 budget a new backhoe and a new front-end loader. This is entering into the lease agreement for those 2 pieces of equipment. We're going to be getting our names on the list so that they can get the equipment in the pipeline, but no payments will be required until we actually receive the equipment in 2022.
Are these for brand new or used?
Brand new.
Great.
Any other questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. New business item F, a possible motion discussion to approve contract 2021-10.
I'll make a motion to approve contract 2021-10 between Evans Plunge Mineral Springs and Monica Hotz for fitness instruction at the EPMS facility in exchange for 1 annual membership.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Say again?
Question?
Come on down.
Robert Paul, 1327 Schofield Street. In looking at that, I realize I don't have the information that you folks have, but I've got to wonder, has the city entered into a barter agreement like this in the past?
Yes.
This seems to me as a precedence that I'm not quite sure the city wants to go down.
Yes, we have.
Hey, Bob, city did this a lot with Gordy Norton. They traded labor for like golf passes and stuff.
Does that make them an employee of the city, or is this like a private contract sort of thing?
That I cannot tell you. I just know it happened years ago. So.
What sort of liability questions do we run into if somebody is injured down there with doing the fitness thing?
That's a good question. I don't know that.
If this person is not an employee of the city, will the city insurance pick up an injury? Is the fitness instructor going to be held responsible? And then the other point that I wanted to make is several years ago, shortly after the city took over the plunge, there were people that owned private fitness centers that came in and was wondering why the city was opening competition for their business. And if this is the case, is that a direction that the city is going? That we're going to offer fitness instructor down at the plunge? Is that going to make the plunge competing with private business? It seems to me as though if you have a taxpayer supplemented entity competing with private industry, it's not a level playing field. Anyway, those were my concerns on this. So thank you for your time.
All right.
I'm sorry, what was your last name again?
Paul, P-A-U-L.
So it was explained, as I understand it, these are services that the plunge has wanted to provide. We just didn't have the personnel to do it. So entering into this particular type of agreement would allow the service to be provided to the public in exchange for the membership.
I know that Monica did do this same class down at the Evans Plunge prior to COVID, the COVID closure. So this is just restarting what was done before.
It seems as though it's a convenient way to offer the service without getting into a payroll type situation. But on the other hand, I think there's some liability questions there that probably should be ironed out before something like this is entered into. And then, as far as making the plunge an entity that's going to compete for private business, I have misgivings with that, but there again, it's something where we can agree to disagree.
We've had fitness down there for years. We've had Zumba down there for years. I know of that.
There was
This is nothing new.
Yeah, they offered aerobics as well.
Yeah, and they've been, there's memberships for the Evans Plunge, and it's the Evans Plunge offering services for those memberships, to enhance the memberships.
But
the other question I had is, how many hours are we talking here? How many hours are they going to be offering fitness services in exchange for annual membership? Is this a weekly type thing? Is it a monthly type thing?
It's weekly it's weekly.
I'd like to say, I don't know if it's on the record or off the record, as far as, I'm not speaking for the place I'm at, I'm speaking for me, but I teach martial arts here in town as a recreation, a sport thing, and it hasn't affected my classes any. So I don't know where you're, no disrespect, but where you're going with that statement, because it hasn't affected my classes. I still have students coming in, and it is at a sports facility. So just let you know, okay?
Okay. Correct me if I'm wrong, legal counsel, please. But anybody that goes onto city property and is in our facilities, using our facilities, was to get hurt, our insurance does kick in on that. Now, what you are asking, I believe that statement is correct, is it not?
I believe so. I mean, I've never reviewed our insurance policy. It's probably more of a Misty question.
Yeah, but being she isn't here, that's why I referred to you.
I would assume so.
Most insurances like that we carry that were commercial, that's the way it falls. Whether somebody is even welcomed there and gets hurt on your property, you are covered usually. The other part of your question would come down to whether or not it's equal, an equal exchange on both parties. I don't believe that the lady that we are discussing right at the moment would do anything that's really gonna, she's gonna take the short end of the stick, I guess is the best way to put it. So that long as both parties are feeling that they are getting a legitimate bang for their buck per se, that's between the two, that would be between the two parties. And then the third part of my statement would be you asking us if this has ever been done before in the past. And yes, it has, because Craig was on the council at the same time that these things were being done in the past as a straight trade. The person did not want to be employed, but they were more than willing to give some of their services for a return. So this would not be the first time this has ever been done by council.
I do know when Gordy Norton did it, the city quit doing it because they said it is illegal to do. That I know for a fact.
So to your question, Bob, about number of hours, number of times, number of days, the contract runs from September 23rd, 2021 through May 31st, 2022. They didn't want to, during our busiest season, they wanted to make sure that the plunge was open to the other types of services that we provide. As far as the actual number of days, right now we're struggling to stay open. So they didn't want to lock this particular individual into, you have to be there on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, not knowing whether we're going to be open on a Tuesday or Wednesday. So that's to Dave's point. The hours will need to be worked out so that it's fair to both sides.
So basically, they are doing 6 months and giving an annual membership, but they're going to be spending enough hours to compensate for the time that they won't be there.
They need to provide the city enough time to offset the cash value of $300, yes. Any other questions, council? So we have a motion to approve the contract.
I think we voted.
Well,
we finished the vote.
We didn't.
We already made a motion.
I don't think you finished the vote.
No. Bob had asked a question, so. Again, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Did you get Craig, Karen?
Yes.
Thank you. The motion passes. New business item G, a possible motion to discussion to appoint Preston Gable.
I make a motion to appoint Preston Gable to the Business Improvement District Bid Board throughout 2021.
Second.
Discussion? So this is I'm going to call it a non-traditional appointment. Appointments in the past have traditionally come from hotels and motels, but the bid board is the Business Improvement District. And I think that Preston, his involvement with the Mammoth site, can bring a lot of expertise and skills to the bid board, and that's the reason that I'm asking you to consider appointing him to it. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Committee reports, Administrative and Finance. JR is going to fill in for that tonight.
Thank you. The Administrative and Finance Committee meeting was held today at 1 o'clock here at the Mueller Center. Present was Mayor Bob Nelson, Acting Chair J.R. Huddleston, Councilman Bill Lukens, Councilwoman Deborah Johnston, and Finance Officer Misty Summers. Old business, Fall River Highway Fuel System Repairs and Agreement. The Fall River Fuel System Repairs and Agreement has been in place since the 80s and is currently up for potential renegotiation. We're currently awaiting the new city administrator to review and make recommendations forward. Number 2, residential tax rebate discussion. 10/15/21 is the deadline for submission. No more reminders or concessions. City has sent out 29 return receipt letters. Overall, the city has received 16 responses in total. City is awaiting the county to provide documents spelling out the rebate amounts. New business. Review monthly finance officer reports, loss reports, general funding showing a loss of $56,000 and $31,000 in the 501 fund. Golf course is showing a gain of $128,000 and Evans Plunge $199,000. We currently have a CD that will be maturing in November. That is still being discussed what to do with that funding. This report is not all-inclusive. Misty will have a full report at the next council meeting. Review potential changes to personnel policy to address smoking and medical marijuana. Review guidance from SDPAA. City has a written personnel policy in place addressing the drug and alcohol use, and will be adding language in reference to the medical marijuana use. Licensing of medical marijuana establishments. Public Safety Committee is working on the application process and step-by-step procedures for applicants to use. Applicants must first have a state-issued license. Then it will be on a first-come, first-served basis for the city license. Review SRO resolution to create a new position, job description, and joint agreement with the school. It's a 2022 budgeted item. SRO position description and contract is in the information side of your packets and needs your immediate review and response. The Public Safety Committee has reviewed. Review garbage service RFP notice to bidders. You approved the RFP notice to bidders tonight to be published 2 times, 10/21 and 10/28, and sealed bids to be received no later than noon Tuesday, November 9th, 2021. City Administrator opening and plans. An application screening panel committee of 5 professionals has been selected. Excuse me. I'll start that again. An application screening panel committee of 5 professionals has been selected to review the applications. 23 applications have been received so far. Street shop propane tank ongoing discussion. Public Works has this agenda item and is working on it. EPMS bonus sign-on, new POS floater, Linda V request postponed until the next meeting. We needed your input today. Review, accept library ARPA grant and subrecipient agreement must also be on council agenda. Council tonight approved a reimbursable $15,000 grant for new equipment for the library to replace, improve servers, hard drives, and software programs. Our meeting adjourned at 3:05.
Any questions for JR? Thank you. Airport Advisory, Bill?
Airport Advisory will meet this Thursday, October 7th, 8 a.m. at the airport.
Thank you. I do want to go back up to Admin Finance. I do have a question for JR.
No. It's already done.
You had mentioned a loss of, was it $56,000 in the general fund as of the reporting date? But we also have the November property taxes that will be coming in. We have 3 months left in the year, so we certainly expect that by the end of the year, the general fund will be doing fine. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Custer Fall River Regional Waste Management.
The meeting started at 7 p.m. All members were present. The board welcomed new member Dan Frieden from Buffalo Gap. He replaced Terry Kaiser. The treasurer's report was given. Fees associated with providing credit card payment services was reviewed. No further action was taken. The contract manager was not in attendance. Jason Hines reported that cell 3 is being used to completely fill cell number 2 as part of the closure process, which is currently on schedule. Hines also reported a stormwater prevention plan was developed by Barkers and FMG and was submitted to the state and was approved. A proposal to purchase a computer for use by the Deputy Secretary Treasurer was reviewed and approved. Reimbursement for mileage for members who can conduct district businesses as outlined by the bylaws was discussed and approved. An update on the timeline outlined in the work plan for the tire waste and shredding grant approved by the state was provided. The meeting adjourned at 7:54 p.m. Next meeting will be November 11, 2021 at 7 p.m. at the Mueller Center.
Any questions for Larry? Thank you, Larry. Historic Preservation, Deborah?
Historic Preservation meets this Wednesday, October 6th, 5 p.m. here at the Mueller Center. Everybody is welcome.
Thank you. Evans Plunge Advisory, Linda?
The Evans Plunge Advisory Committee will meet on October 14th, 2021 at noon at the Evans Plunge.
Thank you. Parks, Recreation, Beautification, Larry?
Next meeting is this Wednesday at the 6th at 1 p.m. at the Mueller Center. Everyone's invited.
Thank you. Planning and Zoning, JR?
A regular meeting of the Planning Zoning Commission of the City of Hot Springs, South Dakota, including a joint meeting with City Council, was convened on September 20th, 2021 at 6 p.m. at the Mueller Center with Don Alstead presiding. Members present: Don Alstead, James Forbord, Dwight Wiener, Wayne Hageman, Allison Ritterbusch, Joni Hill, Christine Heidebrink, and Steve Priam. Meeting called to order at 6:05. Staff present: Scott Sogi and Carrie Pyle. Agenda moved by Ritterbusch, second by Hill, to approve the minutes, 2021 Planning Zoning meeting, unofficial minutes from August 18th, meeting not required as no quorum was present. Chairman Alstead began the meeting by explaining the procedure for the joint P&Z and City Council meeting to begin at 7:10 p.m. in the theater at the Mueller Center. New business, revisit the Jeremy Snyder Goddard Edition alley vacating request. First reviewed in the July meeting, tabled at that time due to limited information. Applicants worked with Anderson Engineering and several CAD printouts were available for clarification of the request at this meeting. Property owner is requesting all streets and alleys be vacated for the property in Area 1, shown as northwest parcel on the map. When you suggested bring the roads to specs, and all the other lots have to have access. Subdivision development ordinance. Property owner has been given copies of relevant city ordinances. Alstead asked whether to vacate per description or plat, adding that all lots should have access to the right-of-way that meets the criteria for access. Minor subdivision 3 or less parcels. Scott stated the vacating request does not qualify for a minor subdivision. Major subdivision 4 or more parcels. The original request by Jeremy Snyder involved all 4 property owners. He has since changed it to only be his property as described in number 1. Heidebrink remarked that these should be cohesive. There should be a cohesive plan for all 4 property owners. Future lot divisions are unknown at this time. Road requirements: 30-foot right-of-way, 20-foot travel top, all property owners to sign an easement, which raised the question of who will be liable for the street maintenance. Utilities: 2 lower parcels don't have sewer access. Water stops at 23rd Street. Moved by Ritterbusch, seconded by Alstead, to communicate to the applicant, Jeremy Snyder, to vacate by replat and show the access and right-of-way per the road design per city subdivision. Ordinance 154.03 and 154.04, residential streets table. Moved by Ritterbusch, seconded by Hill to jointly convene with City Council at 6:46, immediately followed by Chairman Olsted's request to recess. Joint meeting, moved by Ritterbusch, seconded by Forboard to open the joint meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Council. On behalf of the Planning and Zoning Commission, Chairman Don Olsted recommended approval of Ordinance 1235, and then ordinance to add to and amend Title 15, Land Usage, Chapter 155, Zoning Code, adding 155.006, Prohibited Uses and Supplementary Regulations, 155.057, Cannabis Dispensaries, and amending 155.002, Definitions, 155.023, General Commercial District GC, B, Uses Permitted, and 155.025, Highway Service District HSB, Uses Permitted. At 7:10 p.m., the mayor opened the public hearing to discuss the proposed amendments to Ordinance 1235. Public comments were heard from Beth Spitzer, Joni Hill, and Sarah Beckton. Spitzer complimented those who worked on the amendments and recommended a higher application fee than has been proposed. Hill also complimented all the work that has been done towards allowing cannabis establishments in Hot Springs and said the state of South Dakota has approved the city's procedures toward this. Beckton asked the council for clarification on the number of cannabis establishments allowed and their locations. Explanations and background information was provided by Councilman Lukens and Councilman Huddleston. Public hearing was closed at 7:32 p.m. Further joint discussion included the hours of operation and the number of applicants for city licenses. Mayor Nelson provided the process to put the ordinance in place with a second reading October 4th and publication by the end of October. He added that the ordinance can be revised in future if necessary. Mayor Nelson asked the Planning and Zoning Commission for their recommendation. Chairman Alsted called for ayes and nays. The motion is approved unanimously before the City Council. Moved by Councilman Huddleston, second by Councilman Pratt, to approve first reading of Ordinance 1235, an ordinance amending Title 15 Land Usage, Chapter 155 Zoning Code, adding 155.006, Prohibited Uses and Supplementary Regulations, 155.057, Cannabis Dispensaries, and amending 155.002, Definitions, 155.023, General Commercial District, GCB, Uses Permitted, and 155.025, Highway Service District, HSB, Uses Permitted. Moved by Wiener, second by Heidebrink to adjourn joint meeting. Planning and Zoning Commission members retired back to the meeting room. Moved by Forboard, second by Ritterbusch to adjourn Planning and Zoning Commission's 9:20 meeting at 7:45 p.m. Next meeting will be Wednesday, October 20th at 7 p.m. here in the Mueller Center.
Any questions for JR?
No. He's out of breath anyway.
You okay?
As long as I don't have to read again, I'm good.
Thank you. Public Safety, Bill, JR?
Public Safety will meet Monday, October 18th, 10 a.m. here at the Mueller Center. Everyone's welcome. One thing I would like to mention, the revised ordinance for fireworks, which is Chapter 29, was supposed to be in the information side of your packet, and it didn't make it. And so for council's purposes and for the public's purposes, I would like to quickly go over what those changes are. Essentially, and we are deleting all the references to the allowable time that normal consumer fireworks would be allowed. So we're deleting all of that language. We're deleting all the language that talks about when you cannot use fireworks due to the fire danger. And the reason that we are deleting all of that, because the new language says that approved fireworks for individual use shall be limited to novelty devices such as booby trap pull-apart, novelty flitter sparkler, party popper, novelty snake, snapper, novelty wire sparkler or novelty dipstick, novelty smoke device or other such devices as allowed and defined by South Dakota Codified Law 3-37-16.2. Such devices may be discharged within the city all year. Paragraph B will now state that per South Dakota Codified Law 34-37-11, no consumer fireworks other than novelty devices listed in paragraph A may be discharged within the city limits as the city falls within the boundaries of the Black Hills National Forest Fire Protection District. Paragraph C will now say that per South Dakota Codified Law 34-37-13, the city reserves the right to perform fireworks display for public entertainment purposes at its discretion. The city shall consult the Hot Springs Volunteer Fire Department fire chief prior to such displays. And lastly, discharge of allowed fireworks outside the hours designated in Chapter 95.03, nuisances prohibited, may result in fines and associated with 95.03, nuisances prohibited. Now that may sound very strict and overly restrictive, but we do fall within the Black Hills National Forest Fire Protection District. South Dakota law does not allow consumer fireworks in this area. And so by implementing this ordinance, we protect the city and we protect individuals, because South Dakota Codified Law 34-35-12, civil liability for fire. A person who sets a fire, as provided by 34-35-10, is liable for civil damages for all injury and fire suppression and extinguishment costs caused by the fire. So bottom line, if we allow fireworks, we could be, and it causes a fire, the city could be liable for the cost of extinguishment. So by prohibiting it, we protect the city. So as an individual, if you decide to violate our ordinance and state law and you cause a wildland fire, you could personally be responsible for the cost of extinguishment. So we're trying to protect you, we're trying to protect the city. So this should be on the council agenda as a first reading next meeting, October 18th. But I wanted to take this opportunity to get it out in front of you and in front of the public, because if you remember a few weeks back, we had a lot of discussion about fireworks. Any questions?
Thank you, Bill.
You are just a party guy.
With party poppers.
Thank you.
Yeah, what are those flitters again?
What was the dipstick?
I'm not going to go there because Mayor Nelson,
Can you
please
bring
take
us-
this away from me.
Hey, at the next council, can you bring us some samples of those?
No.
And my understanding is that we're going back to the way that a lot of the older residents of Hot Springs remember it being that if you wanted to shoot fireworks, you went south of the Cheyenne River. And we were reminded by one of our own citizens that we are, in fact, in the Black Hills Fire Protection boundary, which then started that whole bigger conversation that ended up in
where we are.
Yeah, as Bill said, or Dave said, where we are.
Yeah, so I want to thank that citizen for causing me to look deeper and more concisely at the law, so thank you.
JR, did you have anything you wanted to add?
No, sir.
Public Works, Dave and Craig.
Public Works meeting was at 1 p.m. September the 28th here at the Mueller Center. And those in attendees were Norm Pudwell, Tracy Bastian, Scott Sogi, Craig Romey, myself, Dave Burris, and Deborah Johnston. New business. Street and Maintenance Department. We have Battle Mountain Road needs millings, and we need to discuss that with Street Maintenance Department Supervisor, but that is ongoing. Tennis court lights installed. We are going to send this back to the Parks Department, but it was asked to be here by the Street Maintenance Supervisor, so we will be having more of a conversation with him on that, but that particular item is going back to Parks. Not that one, Larry, your headache.
Yes, sir.
Let's see, moving along, Valley View Drive drainage improvements, scheduling and cost materials, we're working on that right now. Storm inlet repair that was on 385 and Dexter Street is done. That was a custom repair. Need garbage totes. Now, contrary to some of the numbers of our depleting population here in town, we've had to order or trying to get our hands on 300 new trash totes. We do have some questions how that's going to be paid and how we're going to do that, because we did have that on our balance sheet for 22, but we are presently out and have none to repair to pass out. So we're looking at ordering 300 of them, of the better ones, the nice, thick, sturdy ones. Hopefully that cost difference is going to make a big difference for us. And if need be, if we end up needing more, we could look at it again in 22. But as of right now, we are going to try to get our hands on 300 of those. Waiting on word, and we'll get back to you more information once we receive it. Trees have been trimmed covering the yard sign on 20th in Baltimore. That is done. Moving on to utilities, Martin Street project, water and sewer, starting this coming week. The highway camera project, or the highway project, and the camera that we have purchased for chasing our lines and filming them, see what repairs are needed and what condition the lines are in. From the PD, police department, to the courthouse, everything looks good. And with this being done and gotten into to the DOT, that's going to help us in costs. So the camera that we did spend a good chunk of money on might just get paid for by the bids that come in, means they have the information on the lines that no one has probably seen in over 100 years. So this will make a good impact on that cost. Let's see, moving on. Code enforcement. Now, everybody has probably heard that we have gone to a code enforcement specialist, and the letters will be going out in the next 2 weeks. For those who will be receiving them, please, any information that's needed, you can call code enforcement, City Hall, and they will direct you to the right person to be talking to. Get those things figured out. Let's see, going old business, DOT railing and sidewalk addition to the plans and stuff. Those are still in the works. We are still looking at that. We also discussed possible repairs for the clubhouse retaining wall, renewal of state water plan and grant funding opportunity. We've gone through that. Asphalt has been, I don't know why that keeps coming up, but asphalt, as far as when we bring this up, we're talking about the millings that are going to be coming from the River Street project, and those are already taken care of. but we will not see those until the project actually starts. And we were made a very good deal with receiving those. Our next meeting will be the 28th, I believe, October 12th. I take that back. 1 p.m., Mueller Center. Please attend if you have any needs or any worries. 1 p.m. at Mueller.
Any questions for Dave or Craig? To add to Dave's comment about letters for ordinance violations, I'd sent a little notice to Brett Noctegal and asked him to run it in the Hot Springs Herald Star for the next 2 weeks, letting folks know to expect letters coming their way. So the letters themselves won't go out until we've had a good opportunity to let the public know that you may be getting a letter and how to address it if you do get a letter. Southern Hills Golf Course will meet next Monday, October 11th, 5 p.m. at City Hall, and the public is welcome. Finance Officer reports. Misty will give her full report at the next council meeting. Mayor report. Tonight, council approved an agreement with the South Dakota Department of Transportation for the upcoming Highway 385 reconstruction project. On October 21st, the South Dakota Department of Transportation, the City of Hot Springs, and the city's design architect for the suspended sidewalk, ISG, will meet with prospective bidders for the construction project. This meeting is not open to the public, but rather will be an opportunity for the Department of Transportation, the city, and ISG to describe the project. This will also be an opportunity for bidders to ask questions to help them understand the overall design of the project. The next important date is November 3rd. The date South Dakota Department of Transportation will actually open the bids for the project. So we're getting close, folks. We'll see what the project comes in at, and then we'll make our decisions from there. The group I asked to screen the city administrator applications will meet tomorrow, Tuesday, October 5th at the Mueller Center to begin their screening of the applicants. There are currently 23 applicants to be reviewed. I will keep you informed as we move through this process. And finally, our favorite topic, our new laptops. Some on council is still having problems with the laptops. I've talked with our IT folks, and I need to ask you to bring your laptops back to City Hall. We think we've identified what the problem is with the laptops, so we'll implement a fix to that so that you can get to using your laptops much more easily than you're currently struggling with. So,
calm down, Craig.
Please. Well, Craig's is already at City Hall.
It never left.
So please bring your laptops back to City Hall, and we'll try to get them to a point where they're usable for you, and you don't want to throw them up against the wall. So, with that, we don't have an executive session. That brings us to a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Discussion?
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion passes. Have a good evening, everyone.